That was the first half of a talk he's giving this Sunday at the yearly Darwin Day celebration in Bellevue. This week he's presenting the second half of that talk, an argument that if we want to help people understand the world, we need to radically change the way we present evolution. Presenting how to help people understand evolution and get excited by it, please join me in welcoming Brandon Henderson. And that's Hendrickson, Miss.
What I was honored to come here and speak about last week, I told a story, a small story, a heroic story about why onions want to kill us. And I think it's small stories like that that have the potential to radically change the way that we help other people understand evolution. And that maybe could help us end the creationist-evolutionist wars. I know that seems like a tall order. Let me explain. It's been 160 plus years now since Darwin wrote his book on the origin of species, kicking off the modern idea of evolution. And in that time, the pro-evolution side has got all of the evidence on its side, all of the logic on its side, and has succeeded in convincing approximately half of Americans. Why this lag in convincing people? I want to suggest it's because of how brains are evolved to think. I want to suggest 3 specific problems that brains are evolved to have that make it really difficult to understand evolution, and then 3 solutions for those. First, First, brains are evolved to only be able to hold a very small amount of information at any one time, about 7 pieces of information. Trying to remember more than a single phone number at a time becomes really, really difficult. But of course, evolution is vast. My daughter's favorite book is 1,000 Animals, which has pictures of, true to the title, 1,000 adorable animals inside of it. And flipping through this book every night when I read it with her causes me to realize, my goodness, there really are a lot of different types of animals in this world. But of course, there aren't just 1,000 species of animals in real life. There's something more in the order of 7 million types of animals. To get a sense of how many types of animals we're talking about, imagine each and every one of these animals holding in their hand or flipper another book of 1,000 animals. 1,000 times 1,000 gives you 1,000,000. Now imagine 7 books of those, none of which repeats any of the animals inside of it. That's the order of magnitude we're talking about when we talk about nature. And trying to imagine all of that evolving is too much for our brains. There are too many moving parts, our brains shut down. We're not evolved to imagine things that big and vast. I wish that were the biggest problem, but there's a bigger one. Brains struggle with abstractions. As a math tutor, I make my living counting that this will continue to be true. And evolution, at its core, is really abstract. You can distill it down to a couple of basic rules. Animals have lots of babies. The babies are a bit different from each other. Sadly, not all the babies make it. And the ones that make it disproportionately tend to be the ones that have weird traits that make them able to live in their environments. If you believe in those 4 things and you're willing to unpack them, congratulations, you believe in evolution. The trouble is people have a really hard time unpacking things like that. It's like trigonometry. You have SOHCAHTOA, but my gosh, it gets really complicated when you try to unpack the implications of SOHCAHTOA. Brains struggle with abstractions. Evolution is really abstract. And I wish that that were the biggest problem with it, but the biggest problem of all is that brains did not evolve to think clearly and fairly about anything. And if you think about it, that makes sense, because any of our ancestors who sat around pondering the cosmos or pondering abstract questions would be eaten by saber-toothed tigers. The ancestors that actually became our ancestors were the ones who were able to rally a team around a team of true believers around a belief and go to war and kill the true believers in the next valley over. Human brains evolved, evolution is abstract. Human brains did not evolve to reason carefully. Human brains evolved to fight each other. And what we've seen evolution become in the modern political landscape is another thing to fight over. Darwin's idea of natural selection has got sucked into the liberal, conservative, Democrat, Republican dumpster fire that we can't stop talking about. Evolution has become tribal warfare. And in a tribal warfare, when you ask somebody to change their minds, what it feels like you're asking is for them to change their team. And we have a word for changing your team when there's a tribal warfare. We call it treason. We have found ourselves in a situation where we're asking other people to commit treason against their own side. And we wonder why we're not getting anywhere. Here's the delicious irony of all of this. Evolution has given us brains that seem perfectly built to not understand evolution. And once we realize this, we can see that we have a clear choice. We can, on the one side, keep fighting the same old creationist, evolutionist wars that we've been fighting for 150 plus years, or we can try something new. We can try working with brains the way that they have evolved, understanding that and thus hacking them to help people understand the real world, to help people understand evolution. How can we do this? My wife and I have been teaching this once-a-week class called Young Philosophers. We've been teaching science and history and philosophy and cooking to kids who are 5, 6, and 7 years old. And there we've been experimenting with a new way of helping all of the kids understand clearly evolution and actually getting kind of excited about it. And here's what we've been doing. If brains can hold only 7 about pieces of information, we say, we can just choose one awesome trait to tell them about. Why are onions burning? Why are bananas sweet? Why are chili peppers spicy? If brains struggle with abstractions, we don't need to tell them abstractions. We can tell them a story, a small story, but a heroic story, with an underdog, where life and death are on the line, and where there's loss and there's struggle, and ultimately there's triumph. I know what you're thinking right now. You're thinking, but evolution is science. It's not a story. Au contraire, just think about it from the perspective of the onion. From the onion's perspective, it and all of its relatives are the underdogs. Life and death is really what's at stake, and there's lots of loss. There's untold loss, and there's also triumph. In the end, onions conquer the world. The biggest thing that we have been struggling to do, and having some success on, is recognize that if brains are built to fight, what we can do is stop trying to win. And instead start trying to spark wonder. As long as we let evolution keep being perceived as this liberal, democratic thing, we'll succeed in convincing about 50% of the population. But 100% of people wonder. Everybody asks why. Why do cats poop in the sand? Why are dogs so long? Why does human skin color vary so much? And when you find the answers to these things, the evolutionary answers to these things, you're awed and you're shocked and it's delightful, and you'll never think about cats or dogs or humans the same way again. Who cares about this? Evolution is just another scientific fact. Why are we getting bent out of shape about this? Because evolution is not just another scientific fact. Evolution is the thread that connects all of biology and all of history together. Evolution is the flashlight we shine to see what's really going on in this darkened, spooky, mysterious world that we've been born into. We don't need more people who believe evolution. We need more people who are excited by evolution and who use it to make sense of life, the universe, and everything. We've been out logicking creationists. We can out enchant them. They have a good story. We have more than 7 million great stories. And when we use these stories, we'll be doing what Darwin did. Not defending scientific orthodoxy, but sparking wonder, inviting people to really see the grandeur of the world that's all around all of us. Mr. Toastmaster.